record the button is going, and we have persons from all the various networks. Ladies and gentlemen, two distinguished persons, Mr. Tom Silva and Keith Anthony. Take it away, Keith.
Thank you very much, and going to have an exciting show on here today. I had a chat with Tom about 15 minutes ago, I think it was, and Tom, for those of you don't know, has been on the show before, so you're a returning guest, so that's exciting. And just come out of hospital after some tests and came out with flying colours. And I know I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Tom, but you were very positive about that and doing really well with that, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. You know, probably 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And when I was diagnosed with that, I had two options. Number one, I could look at it as a death sentence, or I can look at it as a new experience, a new adventure in life. And I chose to look at it as a new adventure in life. It's been an extraordinary experience. I get to work with the medical science, and I get to use my own mental science and hypnotism to keep my body strong, to stimulate my immune system, to be a victor over cancer, and maybe even to remutate those cancer cells back to normal cells, or simply destroy them and create the normal cells in their place. So I've had a wonderful experience. I'm still experiencing it, and it'll go on. It'll be part of my journey. But the attitude that we take when we have these experiences, people call them challenges, they call them problems, they call it disease, but it's just another experience in life, and everything depends on your attitude. Remember, life is a school and it's a playground. But if we miss the enjoyment of every experience and we take it as a punishment, well, then we're going to live in that world of pain, pity, fear, and maybe anger or regret. But I have no regrets. I have a great life. I do extraordinary things. I've had an extraordinary life over these past 30 years in the field of hypnotism, and I continue to take hypnosis into the future.
And so you have an attitude of gratitude, and where years ago, before I learnt my lessons, I used to say, why me? And now I've learnt to say, why not me, Lord? Why not me? And that's the way I go ahead, which is what you do. And that's the way to go ahead, isn't it? So have an attitude of gratitude and say thank you for everything that we get. And that's the way to go ahead, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so funny. I have a gentleman from Hungary trying to contact me right now on Skype. I got to, decline the call.
I thought that was me.
Yeah, no. But the interesting thing about this gentleman is about 4 years ago, he was drinking a bottle of cognac a night, one bottle of cognac a night. Now, his wife wanted me to help him stop smoking, but he wanted to stop drinking. And within one session using ERT, emotional replacement therapy, we were able to remove and delete his cravings, the emotional attachment to the alcohol. And it's great. He has it in his cellar still in New Jersey. Friends can come over, Hungarian friends, he can serve him it, but he has no more desire to drink. And that was one session, which is really extraordinary when you think about the high failure rate of these detoxification centers, these alcohol clinics and things that people pay $30,000 a month to go to. And yet hypnotherapy helped to remove the craving attachment, which is the strong chemical attachment of the dopamines and the adrenalines from the alcohol. And now he's free of alcohol poisoning. I get excited about that.
Tom, let me ask you a question, Tom. I hear your energy. I hear your positivity. For someone having, cancer, diabetes, heart problems, whatever it is, how easy it is for them to have that type of energy that you've displayed. Could it be such that because of your profession, it's a little easier for you? The average little man, the average person out there, is it that easy? What would you say to them?
I would say it's easy. I'm no different than any other human being. Okay, I learned neuroscience, hypnosis. I've pioneered new methods and technology, but I've always thought that in my whole life, even as a child, that I have two choices. The choice number one is to be negative, simply, or to be positive. And I choose the positive road. The choice is to give yourself negative auto-suggestions every day. Why me? This is terrible. I hate my life. I'll never get that job. I'll never find a wife. Everyone puts absolutes because we have extreme thinking. And I think all you have to do is direct your auto-suggestions into the realm of the positive. And if you look at life that way, then everybody has the opportunity to think positive, to feel the positive emotions, and to be able to reach goals and be victors in every experience in life. Cancer, disease, even if it's terminal, well, guess what? You still have today. So the goal is you live in the present. You do exactly what my friend here says. You be thankful for today. You look at the things you have in life. You add up the positives and you remove all of that negative mindset. It's all mindset. It's not even hypnosis. It's mindset, it's attitude, and it's living a quality of life, because every day is really a miracle. We're not in prison.
Yes.
It's a miracle. So enjoy your miracle, your life, no matter what experience you're having, because the experience and going through that experience will lift your spirits, will raise your vibrational belief in yourself, and you will evolve as a human being. And that's our goal. So I think every human being can look at whatever they have in their life, and they can make the best out of every or any situation.
Well said, well said.
It's wonderful. We're just coming up to not far off over here from Fireworks Day, and you're just like a firework, because once you light that touch paper, it doesn't stop, it just goes. And you just go, Tom, and that's wonderful. And you have to live in the moment, and you have to be solution focused, don't you?
Yeah, and the cool thing is, if you project this positive aura or this positive energy, you will affect others in a positive way. They say misery loves company. That's true. Negative, miserable people love to hang together because they're talking about the problems. I want to live in solution. I want to live in the answers. And I feel that just by having a positive energy around other people, you can affect them to maybe change their way of thinking. It is all our mindset. Now, some of us are programmed through sociological experiences with family members with addictions or with depression and things like that. But I think we have the freedom of choice to make. And if you enjoy feeling better than you enjoy feeling bad, then maybe you'll enjoy moving to the side of living life in a great quality. Some people really enjoy misery. They're so used to it that they're comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
Yes, indeed.
All right, and, Keith.
Yes, Rilla.
Keith, let me just pivot slightly. I'm just going to mention a little thing. Before you came on, I covered the news from Jamaica. This 13-year-old child, I would call her. Yeah. There's a claim in the reports out of the paper out of Jamaica that she wanted to go to a community event, and the mom says no. And apparently, the mom, in disciplining her, the mom beat her with a piece of board and a slipper. And shortly thereafter, she found the little girl, the 13-year-old, in a room, hung, committed suicide.
Yes.
If young kids out there could hear you, anywhere from 12 up to 20 odd, what would you say to them when they're going through these stresses? And rather than, and I'm sure some of the answers you just gave may tie into it, but just go ahead and address that for me.
All right. Well, I would say, first of all, I got to disconnect these batteries. I would basically say to that child that, our parents, and we're products of the people who raise us. And that's the sad part, because many parents really shouldn't be parents. Many parents have a dysfunctional thinking. They're incongruent in their behavior. I love you, I hate you, and they put all kinds of negatives, or they're physically abusive. So we can't change our parents. We can't change who we're living with. But I think as a child, if you want to do something and your parent says you can't do that, and you know they're abusive, well, you have two recourses. Either you simply, you simply do things that will not get you hurt, and then when you're old enough, you leave that environment, or you find somebody that could get you out of that dangerous situation. You know, there's so many reports of physical abuse all over the world. And a lot of times the physical abuse is due to alcohol addiction or to that parent being abused as a child themselves, so it gets passed down. Sometimes in these situations we have no control over our life, and parents rape children, parents murder children, parents fill their child up with hateful thoughts and suggestions, so they become almost brainwashed by this negativity. So the fact is, this poor girl in this situation needs to be removed from that dangerous, toxic environment. And there are so many different outlets where children could get help and be safe from their own parents. It's just that when the extreme behavior gets so extreme, the child withdraws, child goes into depression, the child wants to escape so much that they kill themselves or hang themselves. Now, if someone in their environment, family members or friends, saw this behavior going on, someone should have taken the initiative to get that child out of that dangerous environment. It's like bullying. We talk about bullying happening in schools or happening on the internet, but guess what? There's tremendous bullying from abusive parents or someone taking care of that child. Even children that are in orphanage homes get abused by those caregivers. So I think that those red flags of someone being hurt or injured, and they see it in school or whatever, people have to take the initiative on the outside to save that young girl. That girl could have been saved. People knew this was going on, family members, friends, maybe other siblings, or school teachers. But to leave a person, a child, an innocent, wonderful, loving, kind child, ready to start her whole life adventure, for her to feel so sad and so painful that her only recourse and escape is suicide, that to me is a tragedy.
Yes, indeed.
Those parents should be held responsible also for that abusive behavior, just like any other criminal. They're perpetrators, and they need to either be put into mental hospitals and to be changed, or they need to be incarcerated and imprisoned for that type of behavior, I believe.
All right, Keith, take it away, please. Go ahead.
Yes, well, you speak about mental hospitals. I'm actually campaigning to get somebody out of a mental hospital, because I've recently got somebody out of a mental hospital, and I'm campaigning to get somebody out of a mental hospital. And one of that person's friends in that hospital has recently committed suicide because of the abuse she's getting in a mental hospital. And the person I'm campaigning to get out of a mental hospital now has been in there for 8 years, being abused by the system, and she's only in there because she had abusive parents who were drug addicts, and she was a normal child, but she was put into the psychiatric hospital because of her parents, and she's on high levels of medication, and
Absolutely.
They're abusing her in the system. And the person that I've just got out of the psychiatric hospital, she was raped 5 times inside the hospital. And I was giving her hypnotherapy to undo the damage. Now this is the woman who's out now, thanks to me. I was giving her hypnosis to undo the damage being done to her by the staff in the hospital. And there's a lot of this going on in the psychiatric system.
Well, and I have a solution for that, and that is quit promoting chemical dependency.
Exactly.
Get these predators, whether they're medical doctors, raping their patients under anesthesia, or they're psychologists that are sexually abusing their patients. But somehow there has to be more tighter observations of these so-called clinical people. And then number 2, gosh darn it, get these hypnotherapists, create a trained higher level of hypnotherapists. There are too many voodoo hypnotherapists out there.
No, it's the psychiatrists that are
Right.
in the. They're in. That are doing it. It's the hypnotherapists who are undoing the damage.
But the fact is, there's still one big problem in the field of hypnotherapy, and that is that there is not scientific academic training in all the hypnosis schools. And there should be a curriculum in every hypnotherapy school that is standardized. No one except, well, I'm one of the few that teach hypnotherapy safety, abreactional hypnotism. I was just in Italy, and, and I love the doctors that invited me out there. I won't give their names, but I was at the International Hypnosis Congress in Italy, in Rome, Italy, a few months ago. And I was presenting, and I did a 2-day course in techniques. But there were a number of magnetists doing mesmerism. Now, mesmerism, that's cool. It's a really interesting thing. They were creating the crisis. They had people on the floor shaking, shivering, screaming, crying, and yelling, just like Mesmer did back in the late 1700s. Now, I personally think that even though I did see maybe the curative effect of it, because all types of modalities, there are certain people that benefit from it, but I did see a certain amount of what I called humane techniques, inhumane techniques, because when I do work with people, I don't need them to be screaming, yelling, on the floor, shaking, and I don't need to be grabbing him and throwing him on the floor and something looking so negatively demonstrative. Although that's their mode of operation, I think that hypnotism needs to be put into all of these different types of medical or psychological institutions, but there need to be safeguards set up. That's the key. No matter what it is, there needs to be some kind of safeguard set up so that people that go into these institutions don't become so chemically psychotic because of the chemicals and the treatment or the abuse. It's almost like a prison. Someone goes into the prison and they get abused by prison guards. You go into a place that you think is a haven of safety, and then you're being raped, you're being abused, and maybe even tortured to some degree, mentally or physically. So there needs to be some type of accountability and some type of system set up where these poor people are not going into almost like a medieval asylum, like in the old days, where they're stuck in that environment forever, and they're so comatose with drugs that their brain cells are becoming destroyed and they're becoming zombies.
Well, that's what is happening in England, unfortunately. But we're fortunately over here we have an organisation called the CQC, which is a watchdog, and we're upsetting the psychiatrists over here because there's a group of us over here, and it's the hypnotherapists are okay. It's the psychiatrists and the nurses and the ward orderlies that are causing the problem for the patients in the psychiatric hospitals, and they're very afraid of me because I'm a hypnotist, and they know what I'm doing because I'm going in there and I'm making their patients better, and that means they're losing the money tree because I'm going in there to get the patients out, and they're very frightened of me because they know that I know what they're up to. They're running a money tree to keep people in there. Most of the time, a lot of the people that are in there don't need to be in there, except that they're keeping them drugged on the meds, and they're running a power game.
Right, and you're using hypnosis and helping these people to overcome these physical or psychological challenges and live a better quality of life. But guess what? In every field of mental medicine and physical medicine, there is abuse. And there are predator hypnotists out there too. Not everyone is as ethical as you are and as knowledgeable as you are in hypnotism. There are people in the field of hypnotism that sexually abuse their patients, that create psychological and emotional dependency and keep them lingering on for years. So there needs to be some type of accountability, even in the field of hypnotism, because hypnotism is like the Wild West. Anyone can call themselves a hypnotist. That's dangerous.
Yes. But Tom, you were speaking to me earlier on about your friend Sasha from China.
Right. I've been working in China for the past 7 years.
Isn't that beautiful?
This is my gold plate of honor.
Wow.
From the Minister of Defense, the Taiwan Department of Defense.
Wow.
My gold plate of honor, presented to me in July of 1997.
Beautiful.
Now, this is what it says, actually. I don't know if you can read it.
Yes, we would like to express our most sincere appreciation to you, Dr. Tom Silver, for your professional technology and devotional assistance in our work, in which we obtained a great deal of help. This citation is a token of our gratitude. Department of Defense, July 10th, 1997. Big congratulations to you, sir. Wow.
Thank you, sir. I'm very proud of that. I worked on the biggest weapons procurement scandal and murder in Taiwan and French history. Mm-hmm. In Taiwan, they called it the crime of the century. From 1993, illegal purchase of German minesweepers from China, the purchase of defective battleships from France, the Thompson Shipbuilding Company, the murder of a weapons procurement officer, Captain Ng, who was murdered, the erasing of telephone conversations in the military, erasing of a secret tape that the captain made to protect his life, and the misappropriation, embezzlement, and theft of $2.4 billion US. Wow. The crime of the century.
Wow.
And the greatest thing about it is, because I brought hypnosis to Asia back in 1994. I created a method called interlingual hypnotic trance induction, translingual hypnotist. I was able to hypnotize people through interpreters in Mandarin Chinese. And I was asked to work on the case from the Secret Service and Department of Defense in 1995. Mm-hmm. I declined because I was not trained in hypnotizing prisoners against their will to get the truth out of them. They asked me again in 1996. I opted to go ahead and accept the challenge because I thought it was a great groundbreaking experiment and experience and testing to see how far we can take the field of hypnotism by hypnotizing people against their will, creating a human lie detector tied into the physical response of the central nervous system, and to be able to get the truth out of them by doing a full regression with non-leading questions where I am the hypnotist technician and I taught the defense team, the Secret Service, counterintelligence, head of the police, head of the military to ask non-leading questions to the subject or suspect while in the state of hypnosis, mm-hmm. regress back to the crime. And I worked on that in 1997 in January. I hypnotized the guy accused of the murder. They tried waterboarding, torture, electric shock. They wanted to execute him. And I got more information out of him and every other suspect, imprisoned military officers, procurement officers, colonels, captains, generals, active military procurement officers, and retired officers. And then I went back in 1999 for mm-hmm. my third mission, hidden on secret military bases. My ex-wife given $1 million life insurance policy from
Wow.
Lloyd's of London, from England,
Wow.
that was paid for by the Taiwan Department of Defense in case they bumped me off and killed me and I disappeared.
Wow.
And I came back alive. I was able to gather all the pieces of information, so they found the full scope of this murder case, and it was huge, huge. Damas, the Minister of Defense of France, found guilty of setting up the whole scandal. Uh-huh. Him and his mistress, and I think they stole about $8 or $9 million. But it was the biggest, huge crime in Taiwan history. I had secret tapes recorded, secret videos recorded, and all of a sudden, at one point, everything was buried, stopped. Uh-huh. Which is interesting. Think about it, It might have went to the heads of the both countries. Maybe Mitterrand, maybe President Lee of Taiwan, mm-hmm. maybe both of them might have been involved. High-profile government crimes that sometimes get buried, just like the crime in Las Vegas with that man who I think was hypnotized, brainwashed, to shoot all those people in Las Vegas and then to either take his own life or be executed by somebody, and these things happen. People think that hypnosis is just someone waving a little pocket watch saying, you're in my power, bark like a dog, cluck like a chicken, tell your dark secret, dance on a table, and take off your clothes. It's not just a little fun, goofy dog and pony show. Hypnosis, like medicine, like surgery, like a car, like a kitchen knife, like a gun, used in the wrong hands can be dangerous and deadly. Used in the right hands, it's the most powerful healing tool on earth, the mind.
Let me ask you this, and correct me if I'm wrong here. In China, 2011 thereabout, you hypnotized the Miss China on television?
Yes, in 2005, I hypnotized Miss China in television on a show called Super Sunday. I had a 30-minute segment of hypnosis. I hypnotized every famous celebrity in China, every movie star and actor and actress and singer on that show. I did, little goofy stuff. I did life-changing stuff. I showed them reincarnation, past life regression. I mean, once I showed reincarnation with Coco Lee, who is the #1 star. She still is a big, huge star in Asia, even though she lives in America, I believe. Everybody wanted to be taken back to a past life. Their main belief is Buddhism, reincarnation. Over 90% of the people are Buddhist. And so in 1995, there was a hypnotic typhoon. It was great. I was walking down the streets. Little kids, people were running up to me, signing autographs. But at the same time, the government was trying to still denounce hypnosis back then because it invaded into the medical and psychological field. Just like Mesmer had problems with the doctors. Mesmer had problems with Benjamin Franklin denouncing hypnosis, saying it nothing more than stimulated imagination. Well, what about stimulated imagination? How well and effective is that in healing? It is huge. They call it psychosomatic. 60% of people's physical challenges and problems and mental problems are imaginarily created, psychosomatic. Placebos are more effective than the actual testings of meds with no side effects. Imagination is a curative power in itself. And what do we do in the field of hypnotism? In neuroscience hypnosis, we stimulate the imagination and belief that they're going to get well, but we also change the inner dynamics of the various nervous systems, the hypothalamic limbic systems, and the neurochemicals produced in the brain that can affect us in a positive or negative way physiologically. I get excited about this stuff, you guys. You know that?
We can repair the DNA as well, can't we? And change the DNA.
Absolutely. And people say, well, this is genetic. Is it really genetic? And if it is genetic, hypnosis can also change the genetic settings in a person too, I believe. I believe we're just on the groundbreaking beginning platform of the true amazing new realities that can occur with the science of hypnosis. Something else, gentlemen, back in the 1800s, all the people that were mesmerists, magnetists, which were the old names of hypnotism, electrobiologists, suggestive therapeutic, doctors. In the old days, there were more doctors performing hypnosis with astounding, miraculous results: paralysis, blindness, deafness, all types of what people thought were permanent neurological disorders were reversed in the field of hypnotism by the medical doctors. We need to raise the bar in medical science, and hypnotists need to be trained, and their background checks need to be taken place so we don't have predators in this field, just like that should happen in the medical field. But we're right now in the stages of the climb of hypnosis to be accepted in medical medicine, psychological therapy, and other modalities.
Yes, I think I'm agreeing with that.
What do you think, Roel?
It's quite exciting, quite interesting. You have a lot of energy, a lot of vibes, and I tell you, I could sit here for another 5 hours listening to you. What's that now? What we have? The practice. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
This is a book called Suggestive Therapeutics. Now, this book, remember, suggestive therapeutics, suggestion, a subconscious realization of an idea. That's what we do in the field of hypnotism. We give certain suggestions that affect the subconscious mind, the hard drive on the computer. Now, this book in Suggestive Therapeutics was written in 1913. This was the book written in 1913, Suggestive Therapeutics. But if you look at this book, and because that was the name used in hypnotism, this is a medical science book. This is a book on medicine, on the aspects of utilizing the power of hypnosis, the power of suggestion, the various hypnotic techniques for medical cures. So the question becomes, is modern medicine, is it progressing, or are we still holding back the truths? Are we still holding back cures for cancer, cures for other different types of diseases? Is the money being made on the dependency of the doctors and surgeons? Guess what? Surgeons get paid for what? Surgery. That's why they're called surgeons. Look at the medical field, the prescription field, the companies, the drug companies. They're making millions and billions of dollars by keeping people still from being fully cured. How come this is happening, guys? What do you guys think?
Well, let me say here, you've heard that in terms of, from your perspective, hear that from the drug and natural remedies to cure stuff. Why then aren't people in your field come together and put together an organization that's powerful, that can counteract these people? Because, Keith have brought on some amazing people here like yourself, and I asked that question, but it doesn't sound as though you guys are making that push through to make that impact on people's life, and somehow the results are there. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I can tell you why it's not happening. I can tell you exactly, 30 years in this field, and I can tell you exactly why it's happening. And it's happening because most hypnosis schools and organizations do not work together. It seems like a lot of the hypnosis schools out there, I'm just being truthful with you, and I'm not saying any names, but most of the hypnosis schools, all they care about is getting you in, getting money out of you, teaching you techniques, and then spitting you out. Just like when I had radiation. I had 8.5 weeks of radiation 9 years ago. When I was through with it, and I was through at the radiation clinic, they just spit me out. No one did any other follow through. No one did any other follow up to check and see if the cancer was gone. The cancer wasn't gone, and it came back. But the problem in the field of hypnotism is that it's almost like separate camps, separate schools. This person's teaching this technique. This person's teaching mesmerism or fascination. This person is teaching techniques that were based in the 1950s from the owner of the school. So there is really no uniting. Now they'll go to conventions. The NGH, the National Guild of Hypnotists, has a convention every year in America, and all these different people and schools go to it and things, but they mostly go to promote their schools and their trainings of thought. So unless hypnotists, and if you're on there any groups and chat groups, there's a huge egotism going on with certain hypnotists, stage hypnotists, and hypnotherapists, and different schools. This school hates this guy. This one hates this guy. I remember there was a big rival, and all these people hated this guy called Gil Boyne. Gil Boyne was a very internationally renowned hypnotist, and he had a school and a training center. But until people can get along with each other, and until it's not just a money game that all I want to do is teach a limited archaic method, but I'm getting $20,000 from these students for a year training, unless the different organizations in hypnotism could start working together, it will still become and stay chaotic and limited. But there has to be some way that everyone in the field of hypnotism, or at least the majority of schools, training centers, and organizations, unless they can come together, and if they can come together and work together for the betterment of the society of hypnosis, then we can see changes. But it hasn't happened yet. In 30 years, I still see the rivalries. I see the different resentments that go on, and there's still no real academic required training in scientific hypnosis. You know, I teach neurofeedback. Most of the organizations don't even believe in neurofeedback. But my God, neurofeedback is a scientific proof and validation, like biofeedback, galvanic skin response, to utilize hypnosis in conjunction with diagnostic, medical, scientific tools that validate the truth of hypnosis. Brainwave changes and activity within those brainwaves produce dynamic states of focused, magnified concentration, physical muscle relaxation, and receptiveness of hypnosis into the subconscious biocomputer.
Let me ask you this. Then I'm going to turn to Keith. We have another 20 minutes or so to go. Folks, we're speaking to Mr. Tom Silva and Keith Anthony, touching on a number of interesting topics. The medical fraternity here in America, here in the States, they have lobbyists that goes to Congress, the Senate, and lobby for certain things. Question. Is there such a thing in the field that you're in? That there's a group of you guys can go to Congress and lobby for certain things, more exposure, whatever is impeding you guys from getting that breakthrough? Is there such a thing?
Keith, what do you say?
Well, yes, certainly there are. I know there is in America. We have the things like the British Medical Association in England, but in England, hypnosis, they're not really interested in hypnosis in England, I think, because they're frightened of it, because they know that the problem with it is that it's not, you know, the drug cartel, as I call it, and the NHS, they are money trees. They make them a lot of money because surgery is expensive and chemotherapy is expensive and all the chemical therapies, they're expensive. But hypnosis is the spoken word. It doesn't cost much money. So it's not a money tree for them. That's why back in the 1800s they pushed it out, because Rockefellers and all of that lot, who were making money out of oil, which is what became the drug industry, they pushed out all the natural therapies and the hypnotherapies in favor of anything that they could make out of oil. and Rockefeller teamed up with I.G. Farben, who made all the chemicals for the First and Second World War. And I've sent you a link, actually, Rula, in your Facebook PM,
all right,
which is all about the origins of Big Pharma.
Oh.
And so this is the reason why hypnotherapy is never going to be featured. They're not in a hurry to regulate it, because if they regulated it, they would have to bring it into mainstream medicine, and it would very quickly become a big feature, and it would affect their profits.
Gotcha.
Because they wouldn't need the drugs then, would they, Tom?
No, they wouldn't. And the funny thing about all of this too, guys, is back in the 1950s, like 1956 or 1957, the American Medical Association officially recognized the science of hypnosis for its therapeutic value in post-operative surgery and healings and restoring soldiers from shell shock, which is now called PTSD. The American Dental Association, Psychological Association in America, all officially recognized hypnosis. Even if you look back into the history, the Pope even recognized, one of the popes in the Vatican officially recognized hypnosis as a therapeutic tool, used if it's used by qualified people. But in America, now there's certain regulations being taken now. So hypnosis eventually might be taken out of our hands unless we're licensed doctors or psychologists. In New York now, unless you are a licensed medical practitioner, you cannot call yourself a hypnotherapist. You cannot say that you do and conduct hypnotherapy. You can say that you are a hypnosis coach, like someone saying they're a life coach. So we're going to have this battle going on, but at the same time, there's documented research. The Mayo Clinic is now using hypnosis for surgeries, for removing pain, for healing after surgeries. There's a lot more medical documentation and data that's out there right now. I can send you pages of the therapeutic value of hypnosis with intestinal disorders, bacterial disorders, IBS, generalized anxieties. So it is making changes, but what's going to probably happen is it might be taken out of the hands of competent people like both of us who perform hypnosis and have been doing it for years, Keith, and go into the licensed medical field. And maybe if they're still not trained properly, we're going to have problems. One other confusion that occurs that we haven't discussed, and I've maybe been part of that confusion, and that is stage hypnotism. Hypnosis is the only science that is an art and a science. It is a creativity science, and it is a mental/medical science. So there are stage hypnosis shows in Las Vegas and around the world where there are people doing creative things, sometimes very sexual and silly things. And I think that also creates a certain amount of doubt of the validity of hypnosis. Even the word stage sounds like staged, sounds like fake, but it's truly an art and a science. And wouldn't you say, Keith, that's also created a little bit of confusion?
Yes, indeed. I've got on my computer here a paper, The Cure of a True Cancer of the Female Breast with Mesmerism by Dr. John Elliotson, 1791 to 1868. And we have recognition in England by the BMA of you've got the original there. Elliotson, yes.
Yeah, this is the original documented book of John Elliotson and the cures that he had in the hospital, and using hypnotism, mesmerism, and look at the date.
I can't see it. It's not clear.
1840.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but over here in England, they recognize hypnosis now in the hospitals, although at the same time, they created the 1939 Cancer Act that makes it illegal for us to say that we are treating cancer with hypnosis, although we know that we can cure cancer with hypnosis. You're not allowed to say that you treat cancer unless you are a doctor giving radiation treatment.
And you're not allowed to say that you cure either, because that's you're stepping on the medical field. Let's switch for 1 second. Let's talk about the dangers of hypnosis. What do you guys think? You want to talk about the dangers of hypnosis?
We could do. I've got. Do you mind if I add to the call if he's here? My friend Nigel Meakin. I don't know if
do that. But while you're doing that, I want to show you guys something real interesting. This book was written by a very famous neurologist named Alfred Binet. Has anyone heard of Alfred Binet?
Not me.
Magnetism. Alfred Binet. Now, this book on animal magnetism was written in 1888, right here, 1888. Now, a while back, I did a show on Discovery Channel called Brainwashed. Did anyone see that show called Brainwashed?
Not I.
Okay. Did. It was on the Curiosity series. I proved that the Manchurian Candidate, that someone could be hypnotized or brainwashed to commit a murder or a horrific crime, does exist. This is what bothers me, that hypnosis needs to be respected, and it needs to be in the hands of legitimate people. Now, in this book, in 1888, on animal magnetism, I'm going to read from page 377. And I'm going to read just a few little lines on this, on hypnotism and responsibility. It is possible that a subject susceptible to hypnotism might be found in a band of swindlers or murderers who would willingly become the recipient of criminal suggestions. Okay? Think about that. The recipient of criminal suggestions. Now, it is possible to suggest to a subject in a state of somnambulism. We all know, Keith knows, somnambulism is one of the deepest levels of hypnosis. It's a sleepwalking state, but a state that can be created with amnesia, being one of the spontaneous reactions when they come out of it. And it is possible to suggest to a subject in a state of somnambulism fixed ideas, irresistible impulses, which will obey on awakening with mathematical precision. Subject may be induced to write down promises, recognitions of debt, admissions, and confessions by which he may be grievously wrong. If arms are given to him, he may also be induced to commit any crime which is prompted by the experimenter. These facts show that the hypnotic subject may become the instrument of a terrible crime. The more terrible, since immediately after the act is accomplished, all may be forgotten: the crime, the impulse, and its instigator. This was some pretty heavy stuff that they were doing experiments in 1888 with how powerful is hypnosis to break through morality and willpower. So it's a strong, powerful science that needs to be respected.
Let me add one observation. I want to say welcome to the guest that Keith brought on. I think because he's added a third person, the bandwidth, I think, has affected. I hear your sound went down and we're hearing some noise. So I'm not sure, Keith, yes. Is there any way you can tweak that? Because
well, I've turned my camera off, and I don't know whether perhaps
it's a little better.
Nigel, could you turn your camera off? I don't think we have enough bandwidth for all of us.
The camera, okay. There we go.
So, but what I was saying,
much better.
The fact is, hypnosis is so powerful that could be one of the reasons that the medical faculty and psychological community is still hesitant to use it, because the results can be quick and they could be effective and they could be permanent without chemical or medical dependency.
Yes, I think you're right. But like,
Keith, I don't see you anymore, Keith.
Well, I turned my camera off because it was affecting your sound, having three of us on. So I turned my camera off, and I've asked Nigel to turn his camera off, because we don't have sufficient bandwidth for all of us to be on, I don't think. But welcome, Nigel, to the call. Nigel, meet the wonderful Tom.
Hey, Nigel, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Tom. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Been a few years since I've been in England, and I sure miss it. I used to do a lot of training courses out there, but it's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
You're up there in Crewe, aren't you, Nigel?
Yeah, just south of Crewe, I live, which is in Cheshire, in the UFK.
And you've been following the show, haven't you?
Yes, I've been following the show. Love the show.
And we've just been talking about why we're not being used in the hospitals.
Yeah, it's a lot of fear, I think, in the industry around what we do, and some unhealthy skepticism, I would say.
Yes.
It's quite apparent, because a lot of the clients that I see come to me for various things. Some are referred from doctors who I've actually seen, who've come to see me, and are quite astounded when they sort of see the results from the sort of sessions that I do with them. And they always say things like, why is this not more widely known?
I agree with you 100%.
So you've got doctors sending you patients, have you?
Yes,
Nigel?
yeah. I've had doctors that have come to me for therapy with the usual thing of stress in the workplace. Obviously, life still happens to people. Doesn't matter whether you're a doctor or a baker or a candlestick maker. At the end of the day, life still happens to people. Events still happen.
You've heard Tom saying that we should be regulated. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm saying that there needs to be more consistent academic scientific training in hypnosis, because there are so many different schools that have diversified theories. And I think hypnosis really should be, people need to be educated as a neuroscience versus still teaching methods and techniques that are 100 or 150 years old. What would you think about that?
Well,
definitely. You want to go, Keith?
No, you go, Nigel.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I find that nowadays the hypnosis sort of side of things, in terms of training, has become an industry, and there's a lot of people out there that just go for sort of badges, so to speak, and I don't think the concentration is enough on the practicality of things. There's lots of people go on courses, and there isn't enough time spent being the observer of a client and a therapist, being the therapist themselves, and also being the client themselves as well. And that's what was something I was quite lucky with, that I was trained in with the Atkinson Ball College right from day one. It was all practical, hands-on, and to see from every aspect. So you got a full understanding of the workings from all angles.
You know, when I teach my courses, either if I'm doing a one-on-one private training, by the way, my website's tomsilver.com, just TOMSILVER.com. But when I'm doing group trainings or personal one-on-one trainings, I always bring real people in, real people that have real issues. And I actually conduct live hypnotherapy training. They actually see live hypnosis sessions in my courses. And then sometimes at the end of the course, because I let the students, I teach them, I walk them through things, I have them practice, and practice. I'll even bring a person in that has a challenge, and I'll have the student conduct a live hypnotherapy session right there in the classroom. And if they need help, I guide them through it, but they actually have real experience with real people, you know, and I think that's important in training.
Exactly. It was the same in the college I was trained with as well. And I think that's something that's lacking really nowadays. People want to get a bit of a badge and stick it on a wall and do some relaxer therapy with people.
I think the big thing that's missing is that doing the hypnosis is the easy part. What's missing is the therapy part.
Exactly.
People think that doing the hypnosis is the big thing. But that's the easy thing, doing hypnosis, isn't it, Tom? Knowing the life skills, knowing how to do the therapy is the important thing. Knowing a bit about psychology is what's missing. Well,
the fact is, there's a number of ingredients that are involved in a hypnotherapy session. It's the setup, it's the pre-talk, or what they would call in some training centers the intake, the information that you're getting from the patient or the client on their goals. It's fine-tuning and breaking down complexities and pinpointing exactly what it is that client wants to achieve in the goal. It's the rapport and the relationship of the practitioner or the hypnosis technician with the client that's important, the rapport. Of course, it's the techniques, it's the suggestions under hypnosis, it's the way you take them back out of hypnosis to full consciousness versus leaving them still in a hypersuggestible state when they leave your office. And it's the end of the session. What do you say to help them believe that it's going to work? And then the other missing ingredient in that most people don't understand, and it's not just the hypnotism, it's teaching your client or your patient how to give themselves the correct positive auto-suggestions, the direct or indirect auto-suggestions to stimulate the right positive emotions that we've presented to their subconscious hard drive under hypnosis. Would you guys agree with that? That all of those are important ingredients besides
absolutely. Yes.
the
Exactly,
suggestions of hypnosis?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Can I just ask you, Nigel, you live in Crewe, is that in the Midlands, isn't it?
It is, yes. Some people will class it as lower northwest, but it is actually the Midlands. It's about sort of 30 miles above Birmingham.
Okay.
But what do you think of what I'm saying about all these important pieces to the hypnotherapy session being very vital that some schools don't teach? They just teach techniques and inductions, but they don't teach the real communication to the client, the education before the process, the fine-tuning their goals. Someone says they want to be happy or healthy. That really doesn't mean anything. We got to get to the specific pinpointed goals, the doable steps
Exactly.
that the client can achieve, getting out of that comfort zone.
That's right. It's all about questioning and listening, not hearing, but actually listening very carefully to what people say, because all the clues are there if you listen carefully to what they say.
I can vouch for Nigel, because he very kindly did give me a hypnosis session, which is very nice, because I'm always doing the session, and I'm always desperate for somebody to do it on me, which is a very rare event. But he did a session with. I hope you don't mind me, Nigel, sharing this.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
He did a session with me earlier on, and he was on point on all of those things you've been talking about, Tom. So he passed with. So give yourself a pat on the back again, Nigel, because I did give him a pat on the back earlier on. But he was on point on all of those things.
You know what's funny about that, Nigel, is that because I do my own work. I can alter my brainwave patterns. I know how to give the exact pinpoint auto suggestions into my mind to stimulate the physiological or neurological changes or goals I want to achieve. But the only person that I've actually had hypnotize me in the past was Orman McGill, because we were good friends for 10 years. I don't know if you know of Orman McGill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of the work from the college that I was trained in is wrapped around sort of Orman McGill, Dave Ellman, Erickson, and a few others as well. Things from sort of Heartlands as well, etc. And it's about the combination of the tools and being able to move seamlessly in and out of the tools required to get somebody to the place they need to be and get the result they want.
And for them to get the result they want, we cannot be scripted. When I learned hypnosis at this school, I had scripts that I was supposed to read and memorize. So every time the client closed their eyes, I'd have to pull out the script. I became script dependent. We need to have free-flowing communication and be able to give the client what they want, not what we think they need.
Yeah, exactly.
My client is my script. I hate to use that cliche, but it's the best one. My client is the script.
This is really one of the best conversations I've ever had in years, man. Thank you, guys. I sure love this.
Gentlemen,
it's wonderful. I'm enjoying it, and I'm sure that there are. And hello to all the hypnotists that I'm sure are listening, and I'm sure that they'll all be listening to this recording again. I'm hoping they will. I'm sure they will.
All right.
And for many years after, they'll be listening to this recording, I'm sure, 50 years from now.
All right, gentlemen, just hold your thoughts for a second, gentlemen. It's 31 after. We're going to give you about 3 more minutes to wrap it up.
You're listening to DJ Rula Brown with the Peace and Love Vibration Show.
Yeah, that's the station ID. That's a station ID. Again, folks, you're listening to Sir Keith Anthony. Special guests are Tom Silver and Nigel Meakin coming all the way. Meakin, all the way from Crewe in the Midlands in England. Again, this is so exciting. I've recorded this, and I'm sure when I reposted it, a lot of persons going to go out and make sure they take a second listen. We're going to try and wrap it together. Keith, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, and it has been exciting. I've been really enjoying it. I've been looking forward to having Tom on the show again for a long time since the last show, and it's good to have Nigel on the show with us. That's been great. And Tom, would you like to give your website again? It was tomsilver.com, if you'd like to say it yourself.
Yeah, my website is www.tomsilver, TOMSILV as in Victor, ER.com, or you can go to universityhypnosis.com. My organization is a USBCH, United States Board of Clinical Hypnosis. But to wrap it up, I would like to say, hypnosis is such a wonderful modality and tool. It's a neuroscientific process that can create many great changes in our lives, from drug addiction to removing depression, and so wonderfully powerful. And in the hands of a competent, trained hypnotherapist that understands it as a neuroscience, understands the importance of rapport, of communication, of the proper education, of being able to guide their client to pinpoint the goals they want to achieve and give them the tools to reinforce those goals so the new habits become permanent and the old habits become deleted. It's a wonderful science, and it's a science that really needs to be accepted and elevated to its true potential internationally. That's all I want to say.
Have you got that AR-15 there?
Keith, 1 second before Nigel speaks. Nigel, you want to just turn on back your video and see if it transmits okay now that you're going to be giving your closing remarks? Just go ahead and...
Sure.
Yes, go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to wrap it up with Tom Silver, Nigel Meakin, and Keith Anthony. Any success in getting it on? If not, we just...
Yes, I've got it on there now.
There you go. Go ahead. Go ahead and make your remarks.
Okay. Just be sure, people out there, to look up, hypnotherapy in your area. Obviously, I can't deal with everybody in the world, but understand this. The main thing is that, hypnotherapy is powerful, and it can change your feelings and emotions to any trauma and situations in your life very quickly, and give you the confidence and self-esteem to move forward in life and bring back that great you, that wonderful you.
Before Keith says the final word, again, I am truly impressed, and I really appreciate you guys coming on. A lot of energy, lots of information that you've provided today, and we hope to see you again. Keith, take it away.
Thank you. Would you like to quickly give your website, Nigel?
Yes, that'd be great, thanks. It's spiralmanaged.com, so that's spiral as in the word spiral, and managed, and it's all one string, so just spiralmanaged.com.
And that's up in the Crewe, Birmingham, Midlands area, isn't it?
Yeah, Cheshire area in England, basically. Yeah.
I'm going to give
Cheshire Plains.
I'm going to give Tom an opportunity. Do any one of you guys have a book that you have out there you'd like to mention, or any publications?
Well, I do want to mention that my autobiography is called Killed the Hypnotist, based on my work with the Taiwan Department of Defense, and my gold plate of honor from the Taiwan military and Department of Defense on forensic hypnosis investigation. That autobiography will be out next year in China, in Mandarin Chinese.
Wow.
Will be my 8th year in China teaching scientific hypnosis, as well as in America. So just to watch out for that book. The documentary, The Life of a Hypnotist, and I do appreciate that. Thank you, my autobiography. Thanks.
Quite exciting. Nigel, go ahead.
You did have a TV show where you hypnotized somebody to kill somebody, didn't you?
Well, I proved that, that's funny. I did Brainwashed on Discovery Channel. I proved that hypnosis in the right hands is a curative, amazing, powerful tool. But in the wrong hands, you can manipulate somebody to go against their life, script, or will. Been documented by Alfred Binet in 1888. So I proved that hypnosis is powerful. Medicine taken incorrectly is poison, and it can kill you. Let's face it, opiates are one of the big causes of death this day and age in America. So that was a wonderful, powerful show. I thought I was going to get a lot of slack from all the hypnosis schools, but you know what? I've got all these clients that have called me after these that I've helped, because they said, if you can hypnotize somebody to shoot and kill somebody in New York, you can help me overcome my problem, my obstacle, because it's powerful science. But it's got to be respected, and you have to have the right education, and you need to be an honest, ethical human being to be able to help others in the field of hypnotism. So that's important. Do your research before you just call someone on the phone and have them work with you. Make sure you're finding someone competent, just like in the medical field. You want the very best people that have a living track record, not somebody who is just a textbook trained person that just started on the field of hypnotism, but someone experienced like the two gentlemen that I'm speaking to today.
All right. Before we give the final word to Keith, let me just say a big shout out to Jessica over you now. They're watching. A number of persons are over there. Also to Nick Holmes and to Robbie the DJ, and big love goes out to all the others over there who checked us, and also on Ruler Bell Network. A number of persons are there, and on Facebook, an awful lot of persons are there. We don't have time to go through the names. Keith, 30 seconds. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Ruler. And thank you, Tom, Nigel. Thank you to all of our regular listeners. We really do appreciate you. And especially all the hypnotists around the world who are listening. Yes. Great to have you all coming and listening to the show. I'm sure you've all enjoyed it. I would like to give out my website to all those who would like to have sessions with me. And that is hypnosensei.com. That's HYPNOSENSEI, hypnosensei.com. And I'll be very happy to have a session with you wherever you are in the world, because I can connect with you if necessary through Skype or any other video platform. So that will be fabulous. So thank you very much, Ruler.
Yes, sir. Thank you, three of you, so much. It's been wonderful. Tom Silva, Mr. Nigel Meekin, and also to Keith Anthony. Blessed love. See you guys next time right here, Ruler Brown Network. Take care of yourself. Love it, love it, love it.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Keith.
You're listening to DJ
You're welcome, guys.
Ruler Brown
Pleasure.
with the peace and love vibration.